Plant FAQs. Cyclamen Coum, Eastern sowbread. Cyclamen Coum, also known as the Persian violet, is a beautiful flowering tuber that thrives in shady areas. Here's a guide on how to plant them. See more 24 species in genus Cyclamen at monsteraholic.com. Planting time. The ideal time to plant Cyclamen Coum is in late summer or early fall. This allows the tubers to establish a good root system before winter. Location. Cyclamen Coum prefers dappled shade or partial shade. Avoid areas with harsh afternoon sun, especially in hot climates. They do well planted under deciduous trees that lose their leaves in fall, allowing more sunlight to reach the ground in spring when the cyclamen blooms. Soil. Plant Cyclamen Coum in well-draining soil rich in organic matter. You can amend the planting area with compost, leaf mold, or other organic material to improve drainage and provide nutrients. Planting process. Dig a hole 2 to 3 times deeper than the height of the tuber, usually around 2.5 centimeters or 1 inch deep. Place the tuber in the hole with the indented side facing upwards. Don't plant them too deep, as they might not flower. Backfill the hole with soil and water gently to settle the soil around the tuber. Spacing. Space Cyclamen Coum tubers 4 to 6 inches, 10 to 15 centimeters, apart to allow for proper growth and spread. Watering. Water regularly, especially during dry periods, to keep the soil moist but not soggy. Avoid overwatering. Additional tips. Cyclamen Coum is a low-maintenance plant once established. You can apply a light mulch of shredded leaves or bark around the planting area to retain moisture and suppress weeds. Deadhead spent flowers to encourage continuous blooming. Cyclamen Coum may take a year to establish and flower after planting. Be patient and enjoy their beautiful blooms in the following spring. When to plant Cyclamen Coum. I found that the best time to plant Cyclamen Coum was in late summer or early autumn. This timing allowed the tubers to establish themselves before the harsh winter weather set in. Planting them during this period also meant that they would be ready to burst into bloom come late winter or early spring, bringing a splash of color to my garden when most other plants were still dormant. Cyclamen Coum versus Heterofolium. One of the main differences between Cyclamen Coum and Heterofolium lies in their foliage. While both species produce beautifully patterned leaves, Cyclamen Coum tends to have more rounded or heart-shaped leaves with distinct marbling, whereas Heterofolium often displays more ivy-like or lobed leaves. I found this distinction helpful when identifying different varieties in nurseries or gardens. Where to buy Cyclamen Coum? When I was looking to buy Cyclamen Coum, I found that specialty nurseries or online plant retailers were the best places to look. These sources often have a wider selection of cultivars and species compared to general garden centers. Plus, I appreciated the expertise of the staff in these places, who could offer advice on care and cultivation specific to cyclamen. Are fancy cultivars of Cyclamen Coum hardy? Fancy cultivars of Cyclamen Coum can be hardy, but it depends on your climate and growing conditions. Some cultivars may have been bred for specific traits like larger flowers or unique colors, but they might not be as resilient in colder climates. In my experience, it's always a good idea to check the hardiness rating of any cultivar before purchasing, especially if you live in an area with harsh winters. Does Cyclamen Coum spread? Cyclamen Coum can spread gradually over time through self-seeding. I found this aspect of their growth quite charming, as it meant that new plants would emerge in unexpected places, adding to the natural beauty of my garden. However, I also made sure to keep an eye on their spread and thin them out if they started to overcrowd other plants. How deep to plant Cyclamen Coum? When planting Cyclamen Coum, I discovered that it's best to plant the tubers fairly shallowly, usually about 2 to 3 inches deep. This depth allows them to establish themselves without being buried too deeply in the soil, where they may struggle to grow and bloom. I found that gently pressing the tubers into the soil rather than burying them completely worked well for me. When do Cyclamen Coum flower? Cyclamen Coum typically flowers from late winter to early spring, depending on your climate. I always looked forward to this time of year when their delicate flowers would start to emerge, often peeking out from beneath the snow. Their blooms brought a welcome burst of color and fragrance to my garden after the long winter months, signaling the arrival of spring.